Hey, tonight we're going to travel back a few hundred years to northern China. Let's see the farmers there, how they managed to survive those bone-chilling winter nights. So before you fully relax, take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe as well. Of course, if you genuinely enjoy everything I've prepared for you here. Let's dim the lights now. Maybe we can turn on a small fan. Let that gentle hum be our background sound. Let's slowly dive into tonight's journey together. You're standing outside your small house made of earth walls. This could be the plains of Hebei, or it could be the lowest plateau of Shaanxi. Which specific dynasty it is, we won't delve into. For you, time is measured by seasons rather than years. It was still quite refreshing. The pleasant air now carries a new, sharp edge. You sense a particular wind that seems to blow straight from Siberia. This wind does more than rustle the leaves. It also brings the scent of ice in distant, barren lands. This is the new signal. Look up at the geese flying south across the sky. Notice how the sun hangs lower in the sky. An ancient sense of urgency begins to stir within you. It's a race against time. And time is measured by the length of daylight and the temperature in the air. The elders around you seem to be listening to the wind. It's an instinct. That is, extremely localized. Empirical meteorology. They can tell from the different sounds the wind makes as it passes through eaves, and the gaps in windows, how harsh the winter will be. For instance, the sharp whistling sound when the wind blows past a loose window frame foretells dry and biting cold, while the low moaning sound the wind makes on distant hills could indicate continuous heavy snowfall. This is a fable written in the whispers of the wind. It resonates more closely with your life than any official legislation. Of course, in the distant capital's astronomical bureau, astronomers are meticulously calculating the 21st solar terms, the official solar calendar that guides the agricultural production of the entire empire. To them, today might be a day known as Frost's Descent, a pivotal turning point in the calendar. It authoritatively announces the end of the growing season. The season for storing must begin immediately, but the academic world continues to debate one question. This top-down official knowledge. To what extent has it permeated real rural life? As an illiterate farmer, do you mark the days by the emperor's calendar, or by the flight paths of birds? The pain in your joints, and that first chill wind whispering past your ear, brings a unique sound. These two knowledge systems, the official and the folk, intertwine within you, together shaping your understanding of time. You feel that breeze blow once more. This time you don't just feel cold. You hear a command in it. It's time. The urgency brought by that breeze. Now it has turned into a near-mad frenzy for the entire village. Before dawn, you headed out to the fields, and only returned home long after sunset, dragging your weary body. Your focus was on the final harvest. It wasn't just about reaping the main crops, such as millet and sorghum, but also scavenging for anything edible on this land. You climbed up a rickety ladder. Go pick the last few persimmons from the tree, but you'll instinctively leave a few behind. These are the tools for the birds. A simple wish to maintain a good relationship with nature. You dig up the last few sweet potatoes from the field. Gently brush off the dirt from them. Any damage could cause them to rot during the winter. The whole village is like a disturbed beehive. Everyone is bustling about. This is a collective effort, a race against the harsh frost that can destroy everything in the fields. Your wife and the women of the village are not idle either. They are processing the freshly harvested vegetables, preparing for a battle called preserving calories. In your world, wealth isn't measured in copper coins, but in the total amount of food that can safely see you through the winter. Every single dried chili pepper, every leaf of cabbage pickled with salt, is a deposit you make in the bank of survival. This process is more than just labor. It's a magic that transforms current abundance into future sustenance. The most common method of food preservation is pickling. A few large earthenware jars sit in your yard. Your wife is placing heads of Chinese cabbage and carrots one by one inside, sprinkling coarse salt over them. Press it down with a large stone. Over the next few months, these vegetables will ferment under the influence of salt and their own juices, developing a unique sour flavor. This will be your sole source of vegetables throughout the winter. Another crucial technique is air drying. Strings of chili peppers, dried eggplants, dried green beans are hung under the eaves, like strings of red and green beads, slowly dehydrating in the last rays of autumn sun, concentrating their flavors and nutrients. There's also a rather intricate task, which is making persimmon cakes. You have to peel each persimmon by hand. Be careful not to peel too deeply. Then string them up one by one with a rope, and hang them in a well-ventilated place. It doesn't end there. You'll need to massage these persimmons every few days, gently kneading them, to help break down the internal sugars. Out. After a while, a white layer will form on the surface of the persimmons, resembling frost. First-time observers might mistake it for mold, but you know in your heart that this is the result of osmosis from within the fruit's flesh. Crystallized glucose and fructose, a rare commodity in this world, now the most precious and natural sweetener. As you work, you're running a complex calculation in your mind. How much grain to save for next year's seeds? And how much to use for food? How much should be set aside to deal with the steward who might show up at any time to collect rent or the bailiff to collect taxes? And how much might rot in storage or be eaten by rats? You must plan precisely. Economic historians and archaeologists are still working hard to piece together the exact amount of calories ancient farmers needed to survive the winter. Mathematical models. They analyze ancient agricultural studies, scattered records in literature, try to figure out how much food is enough, but they can never fully reconstruct the complex algorithm in your mind right now. This is a matter of life and death, a formula not written down on paper. A wrong decision, like a batch of pickles going bad, or a bag of grain getting damp, that's not just a minor inconvenience, but a disaster that could leave the whole family without food by next February. Your hard work for the entire year comes down to this: a few weeks of crucial storage work, which carries immense psychological pressure. Finally, all the food is safely stored away, and you can relax your tense nerves just a little bit, but your focus quickly shifts to your other life support system, your dwelling. In the coming months, this small house made of rammed earth or mud bricks will be the sole fortress for your family against the harsh cold outside. You are no longer a farmer. You are now a construction worker and engineer. You extend your rough hands, feeling along the earthen walls inch by inch, sensing the elements of summer, the fine cracks that appear after the rain washes and the autumn dries. Any crack can serve as a passage for the cold winter wind to invade. You dig clay from the pond at the edge of the village. Mix it with chopped straw. This is an excellent natural composite material. The fibers of the straw significantly enhance the clay's toughness, while also forming tiny hollow structures within the clay, serving as insulation and thermal barrier. You knead them into a thick mud paste. Then, start meticulously repairing every crack in the walls. This is an extremely primitive and tactile task. You feel as if you are tending to a giant creature about to hibernate, applying and healing its wounds. Your home is not a static object. It's a living, breathing entity, and it also needs to prepare for hibernation. Its integrity is your integrity. In some places, the recipe for this mud is often a closely guarded secret of families or villages. Besides clay and straw, you might also rely on the wisdom passed down from your ancestors, some glutinous rice paste, or even a small amount of animal blood. These additives make the mud more adhesive and stronger when dried, as well as more water-resistant. This could be considered high-tech for the poor. It's not about complex machinery, but rather the ingenious use of the simplest and most readily available materials around you. Your main focus is on repairing the windows. Your windows don't have glass, which is a luxury far beyond your reach. Your windows are covered with paper, usually tough hemp paper or parchment. To make them withstand the wind and snow, you would apply tung oil to the paper several times, or heat melted animal fat. This process makes the paper semi-transparent and gives it a certain degree of water resistance and toughness. It won't let you see the outside world as clearly as glass, but it allows a dim, diffused light to filter into the room. But in winter, this bit of light is a luxury. Its more important function is to block the draft. It serves as a fragile yet crucial barrier between the inside and outside. This iconic paper window. What is its actual effectiveness? Is it truly an effective insulator? Or does it primarily serve as a psychological placebo? It might not completely block the penetrating wind. It would still whistle through some gaps, but it at least keeps out the howling wind and flying snow, shutting out that hostile external world. It's a fragile layer of film that makes a house feel more like a home, rather than a cave. This sense of home is as important as warmth during the long winter. You finish patching the last crack, smoothing the mud with your palm. You step back, admiring your masterpiece. The house is like a shell. It's an extension of your body. You reinforce it with a part of the earth itself. This house built from the earth, prepared to face the harsh cold from the sky. This is a profound survival wisdom that integrates deeply with nature. Now your attention shifts from the shell of the house to your own shell. You walk to a wooden chest in the corner of the room and open it. A blend of camphor wood, licorice medicine, and alcohol-soaked fabric hits you. You pull out your winter clothes. It's not just a single thick coat, but a whole complex system. You take them out one by one, feeling their substantial weight clearly. You are putting on your winter armor. The innermost layer is a close-fitting garment made of coarse cotton. His sole task is to absorb sweat. Then you put on a cotton jacket. This is the core of the insulation system. It consists of 2 layers of fabric. In between, there's a thick, fluffy layer of cotton fibers. In some poorer or cotton-less regions, the filler might be dried cattail fluff, or even processed old rags. To ensure these fillers are evenly distributed, it won't clump together due to movement. The surface of the clothes is densely stitched with rows of seams. That's why cotton padded jackets always look boxy. On top of that, you'll wear another layer, a cotton-filled coat and a pair of cotton pants. When you put on this entire outfit, your movements immediately become slow and clumsy. You feel like a bear, or a rice dumpling wrapped in cloth. Every time you lift your arm, every time you bend down is more strenuous than usual. This outfit isn't for fashion or looks. It's your personal mobile shelter. It creates multiple layers of still air around your body to insulate against the cold. The air trapped between each layer of fabric and padding serves as a warm barrier. You carry a microenvironment maintained by your body heat. This technology is as crucial as the roof over your head. The shoes on your feet aren't made of leather. They are a type of shoe called cotton shoes. The upper is made of fabric. They are also lined with cotton batting inside. Most importantly, it's the sole that counts. It consists of numerous layers of fabric scraps, stitched together tightly with thick hemp thread. Finally, they are repeatedly coated with tongue oil or animal fat to achieve a waterproof effect. This pair of shoes is surprisingly warm, but it has a fatal flaw. Once soaked with water, it becomes cold and heavy, making it almost impossible to wear. This plant fiber, which seems soft and weak, actually transformed the lifestyle of people in northern China, becoming a key technology for their survival. So when did cotton become king? Although cotton has been known in China for centuries, it was truly cultivated and used widely by common farmers to replace traditional materials like hemp fabric, which offered much poorer insulation. It seems that a significant boom occurred during the Ming Dynasty. But was this boom the result of top-down promotion by the government, or a bottom-up consumer choice by ordinary people? Or perhaps due to climate change, such as the harsher winters brought by the Little Ice Age? This has forced people to seek better insulating materials. The answer may be intertwined within this complex historical tapestry. Put on this heavy gear. Move around a bit. Your body adjusts to the sensation of being enveloped. The weight of this outfit also has a direct consequence. It significantly increases the energy you expend on any activity in the winter. This physically dictates your pace of life going forward. It must be slow, composed. In winter, you don't run. You only trudge. This outfit not only protects you, it also defines you as ready for anything. Food has been stored. The house is sealed tight, and you've donned your winter skin. Then, one morning, you are awakened by a profound silence. The usual sounds of the village, The roosters crowing and dogs barking, the coughing of your neighbors, all seem to be absorbed by a thick layer of velvet. You approach the paper window, only to see a soft, uniform white. The first real heavy snowfall had arrived while you were asleep. It fell thick and deep. You push open the heavy wooden door. Outside is a world completely transformed. The scene before you is breathtakingly beautiful, yet it carries a sense of menace. The clear paths through the fields from yesterday are now all covered over, vanishing without a trace. The world seems to have narrowed the scope of your vision. Only this small patch of ground in front of your house, trodden by your footsteps, remains clear. Your village has now become an island in a vast white sea. This heavy snowfall means that the village's connection to the outside world has been physically severed. The roads to the nearby market town are no longer passable. Any form of trade or family visits, and even seeking external assistance, have become impossible. For the next few weeks, perhaps even months, the village will be your sole social and economic unit. Your neighbors are more than just neighbors. They are your entire world. But the snow also brings gifts. You and the villagers will rush out of your homes with buckets and basins to collect the cleanest snow from the top layer. Transport this snow back home. Store it in water jars. Let it slowly melt by the warmth inside the house, and it becomes drinking water for the coming days. This snow water is typically cleaner than the water drawn from the village well. It also saves people the hardship and danger of fetching water in the harsh cold. On slippery roads, the first snowfall has a significant psychological impact on people. Is it a beautiful scene or a fierce beast? Some romantic ancient poems portray the first snow as a moment brimming with aesthetic wonders, a signal for farmers who have toiled all year to get the rest they deserve. But other historians argue, for farmers struggling at the survival line, this is more likely to be a moment of sheer anxiety, as heavy snowfalls, like the gates of a prison slamming shut, announcing a period of isolation and confinement, and the potential start of days with food shortages. You stand at the door, gazing out at the vast, white landscape. A mix of conflicting emotions might well surge in your heart, a complex blend of feelings. Snow redefines the space and sounds in your world. It's a world that alters the physical laws. It absorbs sound, smooths out the roads, reflects light in a peculiar way, making the already short daylight seem brighter, yet more surreal. You take a deep breath of the cold air. The air has a clean, almost sterile scent. Then you turn around and go back inside, closing the door behind you. The real winter has begun. You retreat from that white world into the warmth of your home, shaking off the snow from your slippers. The air in your single room is chilly. It's a platform made of adobe or brick, elevated about 2 feet above the ground, occupying a significant portion of the room. Place your hand on it. You can feel a continuous, bone-deep warmth. This will be the center of your life for the next few months, where you sleep, eat, work, and socialize. This thing is called a kang. It's the most defining feature of traditional northern Chinese homes. It's a brilliant design that combines a bed, sofa, dining table, and heating system all in one. The principle behind its operation is heat storage and gradual release. The stove in your home. Its flue doesn't lead directly outside, but is designed as a complex and winding system, passing under the kang platform. The scorching smoke produced while cooking, before being expelled, circulates through this enclosed flue labyrinth, transferring heat to the massive brick structure of the kang. Once this large thermal mass is heated, it will act like a giant hot water bottle throughout the entire night, slowly and steadily radiating heat to the entire room. This is not just a heating device. He is also a microcosm of the social structure of a family. Different parts of the kang have different temperatures. The hottest spot is usually the end closest to the stove's heat source, known as the kang head. This spot is the most prestigious place in the family, typically reserved for the head of the household or the most respected elder, the most important guest. The status of family members can be accurately determined by their sleeping positions on the kang. The further away from the kang head, the colder the spot, and the lower the status. Children are usually placed in the middle, surrounded by the body heat of adults. The Confucian ethical order in your family. is silently reenacted every night on this warm platform. This crucial invention. Where did it actually come from? Some believe it can be traced back to older underfloor heating systems, such as the ondol in the neighboring Korean peninsula, or even the hypocaust heating systems of ancient Rome, suggesting it is the result of a continuous evolution. While other scholars argue, the type of lathe we see today, integrated in this specific form, may have been a relatively late innovation, possibly only becoming standardized and widespread during the Ming Dynasty. They speculate this could have been a response to the large-scale deforestation at the time, which led to a growing scarcity of fuel. Due to its high energy efficiency, it ingeniously uses the heat from cooking to provide warmth, representing an extreme conservation of fuel. The whole family gathers on the kang. Women do their needlework here. Men repair tools here. Children play here. The family eats together here. He enforces a physical closeness among family members. There's no such thing as personal privacy here. Family conflicts and warmth are all played out on this shared, warm stage. It's not only the physical heart of the house, distributing warmth, but also the social hub of family life, facilitating the flow of interpersonal relationships. You sit cross-legged on the kang, with your back against the warm wall, experiencing a sense of security from the inside out, while outside is a frozen wonderland, and you're sitting on your sun porch. The room is filled with a pungent smell, a smell identical to the one from yesterday, the day before, and many days prior. You're sitting cross-legged on the kang, holding a coarse earthenware bowl in your hands, filled with steaming millet porridge. Beside it is a small dish of dark, oily pickles, which you pickled yourself last autumn. This is the taste of winter. The millet porridge has a slight nutty aroma, but overall it is mild, even bland. The pickled vegetables, however, offer a strong, stimulating flavor, a salty and sour taste, along with a slightly crunchy texture. This meal is monotonous and rather depressing, but it's warm. It can fill one's stomach. It is life itself. For thousands of years, the staple food in most parts of northern China was not rice, but millet. This crop is extremely cold and drought-resistant, with low soil requirements, making it the most reliable source of energy on this land. A simple bowl of millet porridge or a thicker version called millet rice, served with pickled vegetables, forms the absolute foundation of your winter diet, day after day. There's no other choice. Of course, there are occasional treats, like your hawthorn cakes coated with precious sugar glaze. You would carefully break off a small piece and savor it slowly, the sweetness that reaches deep into your heart. There's also a more unique winter snack called frozen pear. Typically, the astringent autumn pears harvested in fall are chosen, and they are placed outdoors to freeze into black stone-like lumps in the severe cold, forming hard ice chunks. When you want to eat them, you need to thaw them in a bowl of cold water. During this process, the ice on the outside of the pear will melt, while the pear itself will become soft like a mush. Use your hand to pinch a small opening in the softened pear. Then, suck out the inside like you would with jelly. Suck out the cool, sweet pulp and juice inside. It's a purely natural treat, with a texture like shaved ice, a winter delicacy. It's a small, sweet surprise in a harsh life. Can one really stay healthy relying solely on such a diet? Can one really survive healthily on such a limited diet? This limited winter diet. How significant are the long-term health impacts? Clearly, it provides enough calories to prevent people from starving. But does it lack essential vitamins and minerals? For instance, not eating fresh fruits and vegetables for a long time. Could this lead to scurvy? Insufficient sun exposure? Could this result in vitamin D deficiency and rickets? Scientists will investigate. Human bones excavated from tombs of that era reveal traces of these diseases, but the evidence is often ambiguous. What is certain, however, is the line between survival and health is exceedingly thin. This monotonous diet challenges not only your physiology, but also your psychology. Any slight variation in this tasteless landscape, such as a small piece of frozen pear or a few precious red dates added to the porridge, it's no longer just about the food. It's an event. It breaks the monotony of daily life. offering a significant psychological comfort. Its value far exceeds its caloric content. You sip the millet porridge from your bowl, feeling the warmth slide into your stomach. You might feel quite full, but your body might be experiencing a hidden hunger. He is yearning for those trace elements you might not even know exist. This invisible threat makes you more susceptible to illness, adding another layer of difficulty to the battle for winter survival. The sun sets early, around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. Darkness spreads through your cottage like ink. The only thing that can pierce this darkness is the hearth, emitting a faint red glow from the fireplace, and perhaps a small oil lamp. It was a very simple clay dish, with a wick placed in the center, soaked in crude vegetable oil or animal fat. The flame flickered vigorously, casting long, dancing shadows on the wall. The world outside was deathly silent, as dark as an abyss. Time seemed to stretch on. The night seems boundless. To fight against the overwhelming darkness and boredom, you have to find something to do. Han Lei has already been dealt with. Now the main enemy is psychological. You take out a hoe that was damaged in the fall, under the dim light, clumsily repairing it. Your wife and mother are sitting at the other end of the kang. Their hands are constantly busy. They might be spinning thread, using a simple hand-cranked spindle, twisting cotton fibers into strong threads. Or perhaps they are mending clothes for their family. Winter wear tends to wear out quickly. Every hole must be patched up promptly. Winter is the season for various indoor crafts and repair work. This is the mandatory downtime for agricultural activities. But it's certainly not a time for idleness. Every small thing you do now, weaving a new basket, twisting a sturdy rope, sharpening a scythe, is preparing for the spring to come. This continuous and purposeful labor is a remedy against the sense of time standing still and meaninglessness. But in this long, dark night, the most valuable resource might not be fuel, but stories. There might be a highly respected elder in the village, who is widely acknowledged as a master storyteller. On such evenings, several families would gather on a kang, with children sitting in the middle, wide-eyed, listening to him recount ancient legends, tales of heroes who vanquish demons. There are cunning fox spirits, there are upright and incorruptible officials, and there are comically foolish son-in-law. These stories are more than just entertainment. They are oral histories, vehicles for transmitting cultural values, a vehicle for moral norms and social experience. In villages without books or schools, the story is a textbook. In our world, which has been completely transformed by artificial lighting, it's hard to imagine what life was like in the past, when true darkness reigned. For ancient people, the long hours of darkness each day, when it was nearly pitch black, was a source of fear. Or did it instead create a sense of tranquility, a state that turns inward? Pay more attention to the state of one's inner world, a relationship distinctly different from dreams and imagination. You sit on the kang, listening to the howling wind outside, watching the tiny flame of the lamp that could go out at any moment. Darkness is not just an empty backdrop. It is a character in itself, a formidable presence. And you, along with your family and the others in the village, are using your work and the stories you tell to paint a picture of light and order on this dark canvas, striving to create a human world amidst the darkness. This, in itself, is a form of survival. There was a knock at the door. You open it to find your neighbor, looking worried, saying his wife is ill and running a fever, and the licorice medicine he used for fever was just out of stock. He knew you had some hanging from the roof beams. Without a moment's hesitation, you turned around and went in. You untied a small bundle of herbs bound with hemp rope and handed it to him. You didn't even mention how last week, when your firewood was almost gone, he had brought you a bundle of dry wood. This is the unwritten law of the village. During the winter, when heavy snow seals off the area, this exchange network based on reciprocal altruism. It's not a moral choice, but a survival necessity. The true unit of survival is not the individual household, but the collective of the entire village. Today your family has a few extra eggs. You trade them for some lamp oil. Tomorrow he helps you repair the roof damaged by the snow. When they slaughter a pig at home, they'll give you a piece of meat. This is a continuous, low-level barter system without the use of money, a flow of lending and giving. This system relies on a complex, invisible social credit to function. There are no ledgers. Whoever is generous, who is being stingy, whoever borrows something will always return it, who always tries to take small advantages. Your face is also your reputation, is your most valuable asset in this community. A good name can save your life more than a bag of grain at a crucial moment. If you are known to be selfish, a miser, when you really need help, no one might be willing to lend a hand. Such a closely knit village community. It is ultimately a pastoral, cooperative utopia, or a collective tyranny that suppresses individuality. On the one hand, it does provide a robust social safety net, allowing people to come together for support, to collectively withstand natural disasters and human calamities. On the other hand, he also enforces a strict social integration through the potential threat of isolation. Any deviation from the norm, any independent thinking, could lead to your exclusion from the network you rely on for survival. Your neighbor holds the herbs and nods at you in gratitude. Vanish into the snow and wind. You close the door. Return to the kang. What you just did wasn't just a simple act of kindness. It was an investment in your own future safety. You never know what tomorrow will bring. Perhaps it will be your child who falls ill tomorrow. The one in need might be you. This web of relationships and reputation, it ties the fate of the entire village together. It's like a giant web, capable of catching those who fall and trapping those who wish to leave. The inevitable finally happened. Your youngest child started coughing, one cough after another, in this small, airless, and stuffy room. The sound was particularly harsh and terrifying. A common cold, in such an environment, can quickly escalate into a more serious illness. There are no doctors here. You have to rely on another knowledge system to fight. You spring into action immediately. You dig out a few pieces of dried ginger from the corners, cut a few segments from the green onion roots, and place them in the clay pot. Add water and bring it to a boil. This pungent and spicy smell is your first line of defense against illness. The village sage is usually an experienced grandmother. She heard the news and came to visit the child. She's not a doctor, but she has delivered most of the village's children and has also seen many of the elders off. He touched the child's forehead with his dry, cold hands and examined his tongue coating before writing out the prescription, which might be a paste made from crushed herbs, applied to the child's chest. This was a battle fought with kitchen ingredients and folk medical knowledge, passed down through generations without written records. Among these folk remedies, one very common practice is called gua sha. If a child's fever doesn't subside, you might use a smooth object, such as the edge of a ceramic spoon, or a piece of broken porcelain, dipped in a bit of oil, to repeatedly scrape the child's back until red marks appear under the skin. An ancient belief holds that this practice can release toxins or heat from the body. To promote these ancient folk remedies, whether they are effective medicines or merely placebos, among these treatments, some may contain pharmacological principles we are only beginning to understand today. For instance, certain compounds in ginger do have anti-inflammatory effects, or their benefits are primarily psychological, stemming from the care of family, is a powerful healing force in itself. A warm hug, a bowl of steaming divine medicine. The placebo effect generated by this care may be more important than the drug components. Health in your world is not a separate, medicalized domain. It is tightly interwoven with food, community, and faith. Your kitchen is also your pharmacy. Your neighbor might also play the role of a nurse. Although this medical system may seem unscientific to us, it is holistic. It's not just treating the symptom of a cough. It's treating the person who is sick within a specific family and community environment. The patient. You feed the child spoonfuls of the spicy ginger soup. Your mind is filled with anxiety, because you know it's a gamble. If the child improves, it will deepen your trust in these ancient wisdoms. If the condition worsens, that sense of sorrow and helplessness might leave a subtle, unspoken doubt in your heart about these traditions. winter enters its harshest phase. In the 21st solar terms, this period is known as major cold. The cold is no longer just a state. It has become a living entity, with a will of its own, an active and determined creature trying to find its way into your house. The bucket of water, placed a few feet from the radiator, has frozen into a solid block of ice. When you speak inside the house, the white mist from your breath is clearly visible. You must conserve fuel as much as possible. What you burn is likely not the precious firewood that's reserved for emergencies or special occasions like the New Year. Your everyday fuel is dried animal dung, mainly cow and sheep dung, and the stalks left over after the autumn harvest. Corn cobs. These materials are known as biomass fuels. They have a low heat value. It burns quickly and produces a lot of choking, pungent smoke. Because your house has poor ventilation, most of this smoke lingers indoors. You and your family spend the entire winter inhaling these harmful particles, leading to chronic respiratory issues. You might say the acrid smell of burning deep feces is the taste of survival in ancient northern winters. Survival is now reduced to a stark mathematical equation: how to use the least amount of fuel to maintain the bare minimum survival temperature. You and your family spend most of your time on the kang, minimizing movement as much as possible to conserve every calorie in your body. Time seems to slow down, even altering the way you measure it. No longer by the rise and set of the sun. It's the speed at which a dung cake burns in the stove. The outside world is silent, as if made of glass, fragile and perilous. How many lives has the cave claimed? People have been striving to quantify the excess mortality directly caused by winter. Ancient household registers or genealogies might record a person's death, but rarely is the cause of death recorded as cold or hunger. The surge in winter mortality rates is due to whether it's the cold itself causing hypothermia, or if malnutrition has weakened the immune system, or perhaps because people are crowded for long periods in smoky, poorly ventilated rooms, leading to a major outbreak of respiratory diseases. To disentangle these interconnected factors, which exacerbate each other, it's a significant academic challenge. You huddle on the kang, feeling the warmth beneath you and the cold in the air, forming a stark contrast. This is a profound paradox of survival. The stove that keeps you alive in the cold is also slowly poisoning you with its smoke. In your world, there's no perfect solution. It involves a series of tough choices, picking the lesser of two evils. This is a state of deep hibernation, a liminal space between wakefulness and slumber, mingled with anxiety over the fuel running out, and a patient weariness that seeps into the bones. As the cold and darkness seem to reach an almost unbearable peak, a subtle shift occurs in the village atmosphere. You dig out a cherished red paper from the bottom of the box that you've kept for a year. Your wife also luxuriously scoops out a small spoonful of lard from the oil can and mixes it into the flour to prepare something delicious. This is the grandest festival of the year. The spring festival is approaching. Even in the depths of poverty and cold, this festival must be celebrated. It is a cultural imperative and a collective psychological need. Clean the house. Sweep out all the dust and bad luck that have accumulated over the year. Paste red couplets adorned with auspicious ink paintings on the door. The whole family gathers to make a meat-filled dumpling feast. All these actions are a proactive and symbolic fight against the harsh winter. It's like collectively lighting a match in the midst of endless darkness. The Spring Festival is the most important holiday in the agricultural year. It's a day for family reunions and a day for honoring ancestors. It's also a time when people perform various rituals to pray for good fortune in the coming year. Even the poorest families try to save a bit of resources, to eat a little better during the New Year days, and wear a piece of clothing that is at least relatively new. Among these rituals, there is one particularly interesting one called the kitchen god worship, where you believe that in your kitchen there is a deity residing on the wall above the stove. He is known as the kitchen god. He is actually a spy sent by the Jade Emperor to your home, observing your family's words and actions throughout the year. On the 23rd day of the 12th lunar month, he returns to heaven to give the Jade Emperor his annual report. To ensure he speaks well of you in heaven, you would use maltose or honey to smear on the mouth of his paper effigy. This way, his mouth is sealed, leaving him to speak only sweet nothings, adding a few kind words for you. It's a remarkably charming way of dealing with power tinged with cynicism. You can't resist the bureaucratic system of heaven, but you can bribe its local representative. This festival is a welcome relief for struggling families, a much-needed respite. It's still a tremendous pressure. How significant is the real economic impact of the Spring Festival on impoverished families? On one hand, it undoubtedly serves as a crucial psychological release, offering hope to people in hardship and reaffirming the solidarity of families and communities. On the other hand, there's the necessity of the New Year's Eve dinner, new clothes. The immense social pressure to spend on New Year's money can also push a family already on the brink into the quagmire of debt, laying the groundwork for even greater risks in the coming year. You paste the crooked yet hopeful Spring Festival couplets on the door. That splash of vibrant red stands out particularly against the gray and white landscape. It proclaims, even in the depths of winter, the human desire for renewal, prosperity, and good fortune has never dimmed. Celebration itself is a strategy for survival. He helps people truly endure until the future by pretending it will be better. To help people really make it to the future. The noise of the Spring Festival and the brief sense of abundance have passed, but the cold still clings to this land. It's your turn to keep watch tonight. You wrap yourself tightly. You push open the door. Step into the bone-chilling air lit by the moon's bright light. You're not guarding against human intruders. You're guarding against the cold itself, and the beasts driven by hunger that venture closer to the village than usual. You trudge through the snow towards the communal livestock pen at the edge of the village, where the village's precious pigs are kept, and the few chickens. Perhaps also the ox, the most crucial asset for plowing the fields. The old oxen huddle together. Their warm breath condenses into white mist in the air. Your task is to check if the fence around the cattle shed is secure. Add some hay for them, and make sure their water troughs haven't frozen over. You'll also light a small, smoky fire with damp wood. This smoke not only provides a bit of warmth, more importantly, its smell. It can effectively drive away potential wolves or foxes. These livestock are the village's most vital and living assets. They are the source of food. They provide the labor for plowing fields in the spring. Their manure also serves as fertilizer for the soil. Protecting them during winter is a crucial collective task. Typically, it's the adult men of the village who take turns to handle this. You might also be holding something called a club. It's simply 2 pieces of hardwood. On long and silent nights, you would occasionally strike it forcefully, producing a clear and loud sound. This sound serves to scare away any lurking beasts in the darkness. But it has another, more crucial function. The rhythmic and penetrating sound carries to the village, reaching the ears of every household. For the villagers who are asleep, this sound of the clapper is a reassuring signal. He's saying everything is fine. Someone is awake, watching over us. This sound is like an invisible thread, reconnecting people isolated in their own homes. Just how serious is the threat from wild animals? Environmental historians and zoologists have been debating the frequency and intensity of conflicts between ancient Chinese people and wild animals. While folktales are filled with man-eating tigers and cunning wolves, but in archaeological excavations, evidence proving that domestic animals were extensively hunted is sometimes insufficient. So, this vigil in the winter night, to what extent was it to fend off real beast attacks? And to what extent was it to protect the livestock from the harsh cold? And to soothe the fears in people's hearts? You stand in the cold wind, gazing at those who emit a gentle snore in their deep sleep. Protecting them is safeguarding the collective future of this village, guarding the engine that allows the spring planting to begin. This responsibility highlights the profound cyclical nature of agricultural life. You help them survive the winter, and they will, in the following seasons, repay you and your family with their labor and lives, marking the end of a cycle. It always seamlessly transitions into the start of the next cycle. You're staying inside the house, on the kang, in that familiar state of winter's almost numb stillness, when suddenly you hear a new sound. It's very faint, intermittent ticking. You strain to identify the source of the sound. You turn towards the window. I see a drop of water falling from the tip of a long icicle hanging from the eaves in today's sunlight, which seems to carry a hint of genuine warmth for the first time, and not just a pale brightness. It's not enough to melt the entire snowfield, nor enough to melt the whole icicle, but it's enough to form this single drop at the tip of the icicle. This is not a flood. It's not a complete thaw. It's just a miraculous drop, but it's the first note of the symphony of spring. A fragile, even somewhat painful hope begins to stir slowly in your long silent chest. Among the 24 solar terms, there is one called rainwater. It means, from this day on, precipitation will increasingly fall as rain rather than snow. It marks the beginning of the end of winter's long reign. In some places, farmers will perform a symbolic ritual. They will walk to the frozen river at the edge of the village and use tools to break off a piece of ice. This act is not just about making water accessible. It is also a ritual with a touch of magic, aimed at breaking the back of winter. We pray for the spring water to flow smoothly, to nourish the fields about to be tilled. But has spring truly begun? The seasonal changes experienced by ancient people and the official calendar. Just how much of a gap is there? According to the solar terms, it might already be the rainwater period, but a sudden and harsh late spring cold snap could descend in a few weeks. This false spring sweetness. In many cultures, there are specific terms to describe, such as the harsh winter, which can stifle newly sprouted hopes and freeze the early budding plants. So the end of winter is a process full of uncertainties, a back and forth struggle. You watch the second and third drops of water fall. This hope is so fragile. It gives you a slight unease, because the revival of hope also means the end of hibernation. The battle against the cold is about to end. But then comes the equally arduous struggle for spring planting. You haven't really had a chance to rest before you must prepare for the next battle. But at this moment, you are just focused on the sound of the dripping water. It sounds like a distant classical tune, awakening you and this slumbering land. From the moment you hear the first drop of water, weeks have passed, and now the changes are undeniable. Patches of black, moist soil are exposed from under the melting snow. The air is no longer cold and tasteless, but filled with the scent of earth, rotting plants, and the fragrance of new life. You push open the door and step outside. This time you don't retreat due to the cold. The sunlight on your face feels like a blessing. You take a deep breath of the damp, fresh air, as if this breath could cleanse the stale air accumulated over the entire winter. You look around. Your neighbors, like you, are emerging from their respective dens, squinting their eyes, adjusting to the increasingly strong light. There are no cheers, no grand celebrations. What permeates the air is a quiet, collective sense of profound relief. You have survived. You have succeeded. This confirmation of victory doesn't need words, just a tired yet contented look in each other's eyes. With the arrival of spring, such as the solar term called awakening of insects, which means the spring thunder awakens the hibernating insects, the village immediately wakes up from its slumber, engaging in a flurry of activity. You need to repair your tools, prepare the fields, select the best seeds for planting. The race for survival has ended, but the race for a bountiful harvest has begun again. Before heading to the fields, the first thing you might do is go to the field ridges or the hillside to look for wild vegetables. These are the first edible wild plants to emerge from the ground in spring. After eating millet porridge and pickled vegetables for months, this fresh, slightly bitter green plant is a supreme delicacy to your taste buds. People believe that eating the first taste of spring is a powerful tonic that can cleanse the body and bring vitality. You have made it. You have survived another winter. Standing in the sunlight, reflecting on the past few months of confinement, cold, and scarcity, what is the state of your inner world? Would people in the past conceptualize psychological states, like trauma or capriciousness as we do today? When you step outside, basking in the spring light, do you feel a sense of achievement, reflecting on your and your family's resilience? Did people in the past conceptualize in the same way we do today? The storyteller's raspy yet magnetic voice,